All right, I'd like to call this Lowell Cedar Lake Joint Management Oversight Board meeting to order for May 14th, 2024 at 5:33. Would you please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, Jen?
So I'm going to start with the town of Lowell. Mike Gruska.
Yes.
John Yelkit.
Here.
Craig Hendricks.
Here.
John Woodard. No?
Not here.
Okay. Dan Myers.
Here.
John Borgers.
Here.
Am I missing anybody from the town of Lowell? No. Okay. For Cedar Lake, Richard Field.
Here.
Mary Joan Dixon.
Here.
Jeff Bungie.
Here.
I am present. Tim Kubiak is absent. Tony Perez is absent. And Neil Simstad.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All right, roll call vote. Or do we just want to do the ayes, or what would you guys rather prefer? The ayes are fine.
Ayes are fine.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, 4-0. All right, approval of minutes from February 13th, 2024 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Take a second.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 4-0. We're going to move on to the superintendent's report.
We just recently rebuilt the entire polymer system for the press. The press wouldn't run. It's running great now, better than I've ever seen it. We're rebuilding storm pump number 4 right now. We recently, yesterday, installed a laser level for the large basin at Cedar Lake, and I'm working on trying to get the place cleaned up there. And the fine screen was down for approximately 6 weeks, and it's up and running, and it's running beautiful now, too. So, that's it.
Thank you.
All right, item number 7, we have Lowell Town Council update.
I think if I can speak for my council here, I think that our business is under old business and new business, so I don't know that we have anything specific unless the councilman want to add something to that.
No, I'm good.
All right, Cedar Lake Town Council update. Do you have anything?
No, I don't.
I really do.
So if I may, you guys did receive the true-up check, right? I just want to make sure.
Correct, yes, yep.
Okay. I would say as far as that could be also considered old business as well, but I just wanted to make sure, and that's on the record for that, so. All right. Okay, so moving on to old business, we have item A, wastewater treatment plant EQ Basin Rehabilitation Project update.
So I forwarded over to you a link of the 90% plans for the EQ basin. Now this is the basin at the treatment plant. And the reason it's 90% is the basin has water in it still. It's been storming, and we haven't been able to drain the basin. And so we're waiting for the geotechnical engineer to come out and be able to do a boring down in the middle of. We can do the borings on the outside, but we can't get the one inside. So we're waiting on that, and once we get that, we'll know exactly where the water table's at, and we can finish the design of the subsurface water system, and we can determine what kind of bottom to put in the tank, in the basin. So in this basin, there's a channel down the middle, and we're going to have a hard surface in it with above the liner, so we can drive equipment on it, scrape up any material that's sitting down in there, and put it in a truck and load it out. So we're still, that's the 10% that we're still waiting on.
Okay.
The estimate for the project right now, it's about $5 million. If you look in the PER, it's a little bit cheaper, but that assumes it's being done with the plant expansion, and we'll talk about that at in the next item here.
Mm-hmm.
We are under agreed order, so with IDEM, the new schedule would be for the basin. Now, this is regardless of the plant, so this thing's got to happen regardless of what happens with the plant. We would finish the design in the next, hopefully in the next 60 days, if the water, if the good Lord doesn't let it rain anymore here, and we would anticipate going out to bid maybe later on this summer, and awarding this year, because these are long lead items. There's a lot of liner that has to be acquired. There's very few contractors that do the liner work, so you got to get on their schedule. So we'll let it this year, award it, and then next year it would actually be constructed probably in the July, August, September months when it's very dry. Because again, if it rains, we have no place to store water except for the Cedar Lake flume. And we're also going through permitting. It's in for permitting to item right now too.
Okay.
Any questions about the basin or?
No, and just so everybody in the audience and online know that several of us met at the wastewater treatment plant about 2:30 today for a tour. Then we moved over to the headworks and then on to the Cedar Lake Basin and finished up around 4:30ish, I'd say. So quite informative, a lot of information to soak in and stuff like that. So just so everybody is aware that we did have a meeting today down there, just kind of getting familiar with the place and stuff, and the needs and stuff, and what we're looking at moving forward.
Absolutely.
And if he could answer the question, that liner that's in there is just got a clay bottom underneath it, and you're going to eventually try and put asphalt in there, correct?
Well, we don't know exactly what's under the liner, and that's what the geotech, whether it's some stone, clay line, or how it's done. There is an HDPE liner right now, so the water can't work its way through the soil. There will be a hard surface in the bottom, yes, when we're done. So the liner will go back, there'll be a hard surface in the bottom, there'll be a loading ramp. We would take a skid loader of some type, scoop up any materials down there, load it into a small dump truck, and it would leave, and we would, that's how you maintain the bottom of it.
Thank you.
All right. Craig, did you want to carry on with A, B, and C, or is
I
that,
can.
since it's all...
Okay. So B is the preliminary engineering report. So we also submitted it's a preliminary engineering report, but it's basically an application to the state revolving fund. State revolving fund is administered by the Indiana Finance Authority. It is a loan. It is not a grant. It is a loan. If you get them, they're lower interest loans than maybe we could get on the market ourselves. And so there's a lot of projects that go in the SRF. I think I heard there's more this year than there has been in the past. I think maybe that's something they always say, right? This preliminary engineering report was made available, and this has been something we've been developing for years. This is just the first time that we're submitting it for funding, and this is for a plant. I'm going to use the word expansion, but there's some things that we're finding out that we believe will be in our new permit, which every 5 years we have to re-permit, and right now we're testing for some things that we've not tested for before. This is the first time, mainly total nitrogen, and usually that means that in your next permit term, they're going to put some limits on us, and we don't have a way of treating for that right now, which means there's going to be some upgrades, technological upgrades, process upgrades, as well as a need to expand the plant and make it bigger, right? And so we did this report some time ago, and we've updated it now, and we've also submitted it for funding.
Is there a cap on what we can ask for?
I don't believe there is.
Okay, thank you.
The particular amount that was submitted was $52 million. This would be, the plant we're looking at is an average day of 6 million. Right now we're at 4, with a peak of 10 million. We have no peak. Our peak and our average are the same on this plant. We can treat 4, maybe a little bit more, but generally 4. And this 6 would take care of our needs for today and future needs, allowing that, knowing that we've already approved a number of projects that if they were to cash in all their chips today, we would need that capacity.
Right.
We are not in any kind of danger right now of being over capacity. We're about at 85% capacity.
That's an additional 6 on top of the
No,
4?
it'd be 6 total. No,
6 total.
Craig, we were at 8 and 13.3.
I'm sorry, 8 and 13.3, I'm sorry. So, thank you, John. So that gives us some room, for future demands plus what we
Yeah,
are.
that's what I was wondering, because it didn't seem like a whole lot
No,
more.
I'm glad.
Yeah, okay.
That 6 was the last time we did this
Right.
report.
Yeah, and I know at the previous meeting, especially the pre-J-Mob in February, we discussed different options,
Right.
On capacities, whether it be 6, 8, 10, and stuff like that. That's just,
The peak allows us then to limit the use of the wet weather treatment facility, which is we call it the ActiFlow, right? And which is a very energy and material heavy type of equipment, uses a lot of labor, and so the more we can avoid using that, the better off we are. And also the faster we can lower the basins after they're full, we can lower them, because when we lower the basin, it either goes to the ActiFlow or it runs back through the plant again. So we want to be able to get those basins lowered, run it through the plant, and get them ready for the next storm. So I'll tell you that there is a preliminary, the public hearing is at 7 o'clock p.m., May 28th, it's a Tuesday at Lowell Town Hall. There will be somewhat of a presentation by the engineering staff, and also there's some our financial consultant will be there discussing a little bit too. Again, it's required through the loan process. So that hearing is televised, much like you guys have here. So the public wants to log in, we'll be able to provide a link to that, or they can go on through our website and get on it, or they can attend a meeting.
okay.
Is there any general questions on the PER?
Can I ask one question? You mentioned about the liner,
Mm-hmm.
and you weren't sure what was under there. How long has that liner been, if you don't know what's
Oh.
under there? Is that from the inception?
That liner's well over 20 years old, I assume.
I think that was put in the early 90s, I believe.
So quite a while.
Yeah, we have some drawings on it, but they don't show what's actually under it.
Okay. That's what I was gonna, that was my next question. You don't have documentation that was put under there originally? No, okay.
Well, it goes back, that basin goes back to the 70s, and so it's been worked on several times.
Yeah, but nobody documented what that was.
They're somewhere, I mean, I'm sure it was permitted, I'm sure it was, but we're not able to find it. And you know what, it honestly doesn't mean anything.
It wouldn't help you.
No, because we do a boring on it anyway. There's gonna be an underdrain system in it, and we need to know what the groundwater's at, and we need to know, tell the contractor what kind of material's underneath there. So he hauls it out or reuses it or whatever he does. The basin's really not getting any bigger. The ramp that we're gonna use to access it's gonna change locations. And, but other than that, it's not getting any bigger, and it has had the same aerator mixers in it that it does now, and so again, the capacity of it's gonna be the same. It's the liner that's bad.
Okay.
Wait.
So do we wanna, not to cut you off, Terry, and I should have asked ahead of time, do we want it, are you okay with that, having some questions asked right now?
Whatever you say. I'm okay with anything.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you if it was okay first, because I know we do have public comment at the end, and I didn't wanna cut Terry off to,
Whatever you want to
so
direct.
if you,
Okay.
it may make it work smoother and then actually help out with the question and answer.
Certainly, whatever
Okay.
however you want to direct me.
You okay with that? No problem. Okay.
So the question I had was, with the new liner, being with new technology over the course of 20 years,
the last liner only lasting 20 years, what's the life expectancy of the new product? Is it 20 years again, or is there, with new technology, has it going to be increased at all? Or have you not gotten that far into the products and that's such as the bids and everything, engineering?
I don't recall if they gave us a life expectancy on it. I believe the new liner is gonna be thicker than the existing ones.
So there may be some change in it.
Yeah, there's the material's probably a little bit better by now, but it is still, it's HDPE, it's exposed to sunlight.
The farther you go into the process, that'll be information readily available.
We can get that information from you.
No, we know what the liner is. We've got the liner selected.
But they didn't give you any type of
We may have it in some documentation, we have to put that out.
Thank you.
And did you say that $52 million?
Correct. For the PER, that was the request that went to the SRF. Yes.
Because we were talking 40 million at the last meeting, so now it's 52.
Well, it went from 6 and 10
Yeah.
to 8 and 13. And the
$52
basin.
million.
Yes,
We increased
yes,
the size of what we're gonna
the
take
capacity
in.
of the plant, yes.
Capacity's
From the last
going up.
meeting.
Yes.
Right.
It doubled, basically. We doubled our capacity.
Yeah.
Was there any type of formula put together for future building capacity growth? I mean, do you guys have a stop
So
point
that's-
of how big it can get?
That's letter C.
Yeah, and that would go along with basically when you guys had the task order 15 done with the evaluation of
Yes.
current, already approved, not started, and future possible development. So that's where all those calculations came in.
Correct. And I have that on here just to see if there were any final questions. You guys received the final report, and so though, yes, we did flow projections. We looked at what we're getting today and looked at what has been approved by the two towns. And then we looked at each town's ability to add more product, whether they're, I think we assumed for the most part that they were housing, the towns, each town identified areas of potential development opportunity.
Does the limit on the expansion, was there a limit of homes attached to the expansion limit? Was there a connection between how many more before it's, again, we're rebuilding? Was that included in your formula?
No, we looked at, the town of Cedar Lake gave us a map, and they said, here's what's been approved already, and here's how many units, and here are areas where we believe are potential development areas, and we equated the land to units of housing, or if, in some cases, maybe there's an opportunity for some sort of industrial or light industrial commercial opportunity. So we looked at zoning or potential zoning, and we equated that to flow.
Now, Craig, if I may, now, also, what brief I did look at that PER, I think some of the calculations were looking forward 20 years, was it? Did I read that?
Oh, sure.
So some of that,
Yeah, when you do an SRF PER, you're required to look 20 years.
so it is a requirement for the 20.
So that was that was an earlier task order that was completed, and we took that information. All these task orders build on each other, and so we took that task order then and completed and updated, because the PER was done a few years ago, and we updated it with the new flow projections.
One last follow-up. Do you anticipate that the amount of land mass left in both Lowell and Cedar Lake and the amount of increase we're putting together, will those match? Or will there be more land mass, which means another addition to the treatment plant? Trying to figure out if this is the last build-out for the amount of land left in these two towns.
Well,
Is there any way to
there's plenty
figure
of
that?
land, you can annex more. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no,
We don't know what's
there's
gonna be
plenty of
added.
farmland around, I assume, that,
Is there a limit to how much can be produced into the river? I mean, is there a maximum that the DNR would put on, or does that come down to how fast it's released?
Well, typically that'll, the more you put in, it may affect the limits that you have to meet on that water bill.
And those were all those formulas are kind of figured in as you guys are doing this.
That's something that I did, but, the state usually tells us, when that time comes.
Thanks.
All right. I'm not sure if that briefly touched on C, or if you had anything more to add to that.
I don't,
I think it.
just that C, the information from C, which is the surface area flow projections, is used in the PER then to predict and come up with the sizes and the schedules and things like that. So, if there are no other...
All right, we'll move on to item number 10, new business. Item A, Cedar Lake Basin Maintenance.
So, there's a couple things that we've been doing at the Cedar Lake Basin. In the past, we put a new roof on the building, and we've got a new communication connection. We use cellular now. It's more effective and more consistent. We do control things at the flume via from anywhere. Honestly, I think we can do it from home with our computers and things like. Or Dan can. I'm not an operator, so. So we made it so that we can communicate with it better by going to the cellular. So that was done already, but this time we need to get the basins cleaned. They are concrete lined basins with a channel down them, and there's some material sitting in it that we need to get out of there and get it clean. And so Dan received 2 bids for cleaning that out. So they're going to use a track machine, let's say a skid loader, and some vacuum equipment to get that out of there. These are big basins. I mean, you saw them today, and they are full of water right now. So we'll have to see play this by ear, right? But the bid that we received from the lowest company was Serenity Environmental Services. That's for $44,800. Again, that was for both basins, and they would collect the material and take it to the plant for disposal. The other quote we received was from South Lake Land Management, and they're a tree cutting company, and there's some brush management that we need to do around the fence, around the gate, and in between the basins. And that quote was, I only got one because it's $10,000, so it's not something we. And it was $10,000, and they are a local company, so we try to go local with things like this as much as we can.
Right.
So we would ask that you guys kind of give us a thumbs up for that work, and it would be within our approved budget.
Yeah. So with the item 2, or whatever you want to call it, for the cleaning.
Right.
When we were out there, you mentioned that some of the aerators or whatever have not been working, and is that stuff going to be removed, looked into as far as updating if it's necessary, or while they're when it's drained, we clean it out? Are they just going to be removed, or do we know?
They will not be removed. They're not being used right now.
Yeah.
So, they would not be removed.
No, I don't think you want to remove them.
Are they going to want to be looked at for the future of actually getting them going again?
Yes.
I guess would be the right question?
Yes. They were put there for a reason, although we don't use them, right?
Well, like we've seen, one didn't even have power to it.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we would have to look at getting those reconnected.
Would that be done at that time when it's cleaned and dry?
We could look at them and get costs to see what it would take to get them restored.
Yeah, because like you said, they're there for a reason.
And I don't know why they haven't been used in the past, but because they ended up in the condition they're in, and obviously they're not being used.
Yes.
And so we've not fallen into any kind of violation or anything like that of any type. The basins have not been cleaned in some time. I don't know when the last time they've been cleaned, or frankly, if they've ever been cleaned.
Right.
So it's not like we're getting ourselves into any trouble by not having them. So not using them and we're still not violating anything or we're able to maintain it every decade, is maybe we just don't go back and use them. But I believe there's something in the 10 state standards that says you need to have aeration.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they're there.
Okay.
But an operator's never seen really maybe a need to use them.
So, would the board feel like we're okay with approving them both, or do we want to do them individually?
I
or
think we
what?
have to do them individually.
Yeah, do them individually.
Individually?
Yeah, because they're individual companies or individual assignments, so.
Okay. So we'll start out with one. I'd be looking for an approval or a
The
denial.
other thing I would do is I would call for a roll call on that because it's expenditure of
Yes.
funds.
Okay. All right, so I'll be looking for a motion first for approval, for using the tree cleaning, South Lake Land Management for the amount of $10,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Mike Ruska?
Yes.
John Yelkich?
Yes.
Richard Field?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay, I'll be looking for a motion then to approve the EQ Basin cleaning by Serenity Environmental Services for the amount of $44,800.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Mike Ruska?
Yes.
John Yelkich?
Yes.
Richard Field?
Yes.
Mary Jo Dixon?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the financial support report, as submitted by Jill Murr. Jen, do you have that? Or
I received it late this afternoon.
you did receive it? Okay.
So it is a expense report through April 30th of '24, and you can see on the cover sheet there's a summary of all of it, and then you have all the supporting documentation behind it.
Okay.
So the expenses through, if you want me to give a list, expenses through April 30th were $853,710.22.
Okay.
The balance in the budget remains at $1,293,749.78.
Okay. And when we were out there today, when we mentioned something about the blowers that were needing replacement, how does that figure in? Because that would be above and beyond, or?
We try to take everything out of this that we can, because the way it works is you guys have approved this much. You allow us to move things as needed within, this is based on past, okay? We keep reporting to you each quarter with our meetings, but we move the money around as we need, and if something comes up at the end and we need additional budget, we come back to the board. We explain why, what happened, and you guys would then direct us from there, right? So, yes, I would say it would come out of this budget. I'm not saying that we knew, okay, we need, this blower's gonna go bad.
Yeah.
I can tell you that we had some equipment that went out. Dan talked about the screen and getting that repaired. I mean, we don't know when that's gonna happen.
Correct.
You plan a budget based on last year's budget, maybe what happened, and you got the pump in the cold really hurt us this year with some of the pumps. You guys saw the box around it and some of that stuff, right? That we had to make repairs to starters and things like that. So those are and the effluent pump. Those are unexpected, but we try to cover as much as we can in the existing budget and move things around to do that and try to stay within our budget. And if we are not able to, then we would report back to this board and ask for additional monies. But for right now, we're what, a third of the way through the year, and we're quarter or whatever, a third of the way through the year, and we're not quite halfway through our budget. So, but yes, that would come out of the budget. He's going to order a new area, a new
Yeah.
a new
The blower,
blower,
yeah.
blower. Okay. And we don't wanna, we don't wanna buy any more than we have to, because if we're gonna do a new plant.
Yeah, which we
then-
discussed that, towards the end of the meeting.
And the plant would be this year, if we got the funding and we move forward, we wanna move forward with final engineering and permitting and things, and we would hopefully be starting within 2 years, I would think, on the project, and then it's at least probably a 2-year project, so we're looking at a 5-year, schedule for.
Still be necessary too.
And, yeah, some of the work, we could start early, some of it we can't, but, anyway. So, yeah, we don't wanna buy anything we don't have to.
Right.
If we can limp it along, we will, but when you're limping along both blowers, you gotta get at least one fixed and usable and limp the other one along, because you gotta have it,
Yeah.
so,
Quick question on the tree clearing, they can start that whenever, right? I mean,
yeah, we're gonna move forward.
it's not like they need to wait for the basin to be dry for that, so they
Everybody
can,
has to wait for basins to be good and dry.
the cleaning it.
Tree cutting as he's able to schedule. Yeah. As soon as I can notify him, go.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna call them tomorrow.
Yeah.
We assume that when
Yeah.
when you take it back to your council, whatever, that everything's gonna be approved, because, but I'm gonna take, I would take it then to our council to actually approve it, because the contract would be between our council, right?
Yeah.
And the contractor, but, we assume at these rates, and since, we saw a lot of your members today, that
We're all here.
Yeah, we're here.
we're gonna be getting one of these, so.
Yeah, so we don't have to explain much.
We'd like to schedule the basin cleaning, at least make sure that it gets on their schedule in anticipation of it being empty.
There's a number of trees covering the manholes
Mm-hmm.
that need to be, that's another reason why it needs to be cleared.
Mhm.
No valves, yes.
And we've been doing some maintenance up there over like I said, we had a new roof and the phone dialer and some other things inside, the building, and.
Today was, grass cutting day, but Mother Nature didn't
Yeah,
cooperate.
And the rabbits certainly weren't doing it fast enough, so.
yeah.
You get yourself some goats.
Yeah, that'll do it. I have a quick question also on the finance, it kind of goes along with the financial report. Do we have an idea on the true-up yet for '23?
So, Jill told me that I think she's meeting with McMahon, who was the consultant that does the true-up. They're exchanging information, and I hope to get that to you shortly, all right, the true-up.
She didn't have it as of last night.
Correct.
Okay.
But I know she's been communicating with them and exchanging, and this is Jill's first time doing it, so, maybe it's not as quick as when Judy was doing, so she's gotta go back and find out what we did last year, and Jill wasn't in charge last year, so it could take a little bit of time, so we'd appreciate, that it's gonna be a little bit late.
Okay. Did the board have any other additional questions, comments, or? Nope.
No.
I'm good.
All right, we will move on to public comment.
We just raise our hand, or do we have to?
If you come to now we're gonna do it the formal way. Before, I figured it'd be a little smoother just to answer as we went on, so.
Cheryl Parker, 7227 West 136th Court in Cedar Lake. I just wondered about the state revolving loans, the state revolving fund. Do the loans, are those like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? How do they run?
Typically the 20 years.
20 years? Okay. And will Lowell be the one that puts the application in, and then Cedar Lake just gets billed for their share?
Yes.
Okay. And do we know what kind of rates they're running? Does it depend on the town credit?
The rates change as it goes, just time-wise, but.
It also depends on what kind of fund you fall into, or program you fall into.
Oh, they have different
Levels of it,
types.
but typically, it's somewhere, I'm guessing between 2.5% and 3%,
Oh, okay.
somewhere in there.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
Grosek, 14055 Deodore, Cedar Lake. I cast out a little piece of paper here, but I think that should be given to the residents of both towns, just as a formality type thing, things not to put into those sewers. And you'd be surprised at the things that you do find in there. I'll read a couple: baby wipes. Those do not break up in sewer water. Rags, Q-tips, dental floss. You'd be surprised at the things that are on this list. And I think it'd just be a good idea to have that, just give it to the public somehow. If you get a 10% response on it, that's 10% less. Maybe next time it'd be 20, who knows?
I mean, I would think that's even something we could put in a newsletter, Jeff?
We can put it on the town website.
Or in a town website, or?
We have done it in the past in the town's newsletter. There have been sections from Public Works. We get information from the wastewater superintendent or the water superintendent, but specifically when it comes to things not to flush, we have put that in past issues.
Yeah, I remember, you know, talking with Tim, earlier in the year with one of the lift stations that went, you know, sent alarm and stuff like that because of a wipe. You know, sometimes it reverses and then fixes itself,
Are you
and
gonna get
that time it
100%
didn't. So,
compliance? Probably not, but some is better than
Some
none.
knowledge, yeah.
yeah.
Just a suggestion, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Mop head. You read that too?
So,
I'll never do it.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
do we have any more public comment? Any more public comment going twice?
Anybody online might want to ask?
There's nobody online.
Is there anything that Sue would want to add while she's on, or just figure it out?
I don't have anything to add right now. I was just looking through on the operating expenses budget for what we actually incurred. The only other question I have is on the basin cleaning up at the Cedar Lake Basin. Is that more of a capital cost rather than an operating cost because of the fact that it's a build-up from previous years?
That I wouldn't know. Would you?
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm wondering what's the difference. Why does it matter?
Well, it's not gonna, if we do it at $44,800 this year, is it gonna cost that much for maintenance next year?
Not if we keep up with it.
No, the idea is that the town employees would be doing it after this, that we would be able to get it to a point where we can manage it and maybe not have to hire somebody in the future, that we would manage it ourselves.
And you did discuss that earlier. So she wouldn't have been aware of that.
Yeah. Did that answer your question, Sue?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any more public comment, third time? All right, this meeting is adjourned at 6:11 PM.